The BFG gazed at her for a while longer. Then he bent his head again to his slow, laborious writing. "Tell me honestly, if you blew this dream into my bedroom when I was asleep, would I really and truly start dreaming about how I saved my teacher from drowning by diving off the bridge?"
More. A lot more. But I cannot be scribbling the whole grope-flunking dream on a titchy bit of paper."
The BFG laid down his pencil and placed one massive ear close to the jar. For about 30 seconds he listened intently.
"Yes," he said, "this dream is continuing very nice."
"How does it end?" Sophie said. "Please, tell me."
"You would be dreaming," the BFG said, "that the morning after you is saving the teacher from the river, you is arriving at school, and you is seeing all the 500 pupils sitting in the assembly hall, and all the teachers as well, and the head teacher is standing up and saying, 'I is wanting the whole school to give 3 cheers for Sophie, because she is so brave and is saving the life of our fine arithmetic teacher, Mr. Figgins, so 3 cheers for Sophie.' And the whole school is then cheering like mad and shouting, 'Bravo, well done.' And forever after that, even when you is getting all your sums all gung-swizzled and muggled up, Mr. Figgins is always giving you 10 out of 10 and writing, 'Good work, Sophie,' in your exercise book. Then you is waking up."
"I like that dream."
"Of course you like it," the BFG said. "It's a fizz wizard."
He licked the back of the label and stuck it on the jar.
"I is usually writing a bit more than this on the labels, but you is watching me and making me jumpsy."
"I'll go and sit somewhere else," Sophie said.
"Well, don't go. Look in the jar carefully, and I think you will be seeing this dream."
Sophie peered into the jar, and there, sure enough, she saw the faint, translucent outline of something about the size of a hen's egg. There it lay, this small, oblong, sea-green, jellyish thing at the bottom of the jar, quite peaceful, but pulsing gently. "It's moving," Sophie cried. "It's alive!"
"Of course it's alive."
"What will you feed it on?"
"It isn't needing any food."
"Well, that's cruel. Everything alive needs food of some sort, even trees and plants."
"North Wind is alive," the BFG said. "It is moving, touches you on the cheek and on the hands, but nobody is feeding it."
Sophie was silent. This extraordinary giant was disturbing her ideas.
"A dream is not needing anything. If it's a good one, it is waiting peaceably for ever until it is released and allowed to do its job. If it's a bad one, it's always fighting to get out."
The BFG stood up and walked over to one of the many shelves and placed the latest jar among the thousands of others. "Please, can I see some of the other dreams?" Sophie asked him.
The BFG hesitated. Nobody's ever seen 'em before. But perhaps, after all, I is letting you have a little peep."
He picked her up off the table and carried her towards the shelves.
"Over here is some of the good dreams, the fizz wizards."
"Would you hold me closer so I can read the labels?"
"Well, my labels is only telling bits of it. The dreams is actually much longer."
Sophie started to read the labels. The first one seemed long enough to her. This is what it said.
"Today I is sitting in class, and I discover that if I is staring very hard at my teacher in a special way, I is able to put her to sleep. So I keep staring at her, and in the end her head drops onto her desk, and she goes fast to sleep and snorkles loudly. Then in marches the head teacher, and he shouts, 'Wake up, Miss Plumridge! How dare you go to sleep in my class? Go fetch your hat and coat and leave this school forever. You is sacked.' But in a jiffy, I is putting the head teacher to sleep as well, and he just crumples slowly to the floor like a lump of jelly, and there he lies all in a heap, and starts snorkling even louder than Miss Plumridge, and then I is hearing my mummy's voice saying, "Wake up, your breakfast is ready."
What a funny dream, Sophie said.
"It's a ring beller," the BFG said. "It's a whopsy."
Do you have separate dreams for boys and for girls?
"Of course," the BFG said. "If I is giving a girl's dream to a boy, even if it was a real whopsy girl's dream, the boy would be waking up and thinking, 'What a rot, bungling, grink-sludging old dream that was.' Oh, these here is all girls' dreams on this shelf."
Can I read a boy's dream?
"You can," the BFG said,
and he lifted her to a higher shelf. The label on the nearest boy's dream jar read as follows:
"I is making myself a marvellous pair of suction boots, and when I put them on I is able to walk straight up the kitchen wall and across the ceiling. Well, I is walking upside down on the ceiling when my big sister comes in, and she is starting to yell at me, as she always does, yelling, 'What on earth is you doing up there walking on the ceiling?' And I looks down at her, and I smiles, and I says, 'I told you you was driving me up the wall, and now you has done it.'"
"Boys are crazy," Sophie said.
"Dreams is very mystical things," the BFG said. "Human beings is not understanding them at all. Not even their brainiest Persephas is understanding them. Well, that's enough for now. There is dillions more, but my arm's getting tired holding you up."
"What are all those over there? Why have they got such tiny labels?"
"Well, that is, of course, one day I is catching so many dreams I is not having the time or energy to write out long labels, but there's enough to remind me."
"Can I look?" Sophie said. The long-suffering BFG carried her across to the jars she was pointing to. Sophie read them rapidly, one after the other. "I is climbing Mount Everest with just my pussycat for company. I is inventing a car that runs on toothpaste. I is able to make the electric lights go on and off just by wishing it. I is only an 8-year-old boy, but I's grown a splendid bushy beard, and all the other boys is jealous." "What amazes me," Sophie said, "is how you ever learnt to write in the first place."
"Ah, I had been wondering how long it is before you was asking me that."
"Considering you've never went to school, I think it's quite marvellous. How did you learn?" The BFG crossed the cave and opened a tiny secret door in the wall. He took out a book, very old and tattered. By human standards, it was an ordinary-sized book, but it looked like a postage stamp in his huge hand.
"One night, I was blowing a dream through a window, and I sees this book lying on the little boy's bedroom table. I wanted it so very badly, you understand? But I was refusing to steal it. I would never do that."
"So, how did you get it?" Sophie asked.
"I borrowed it," the BFG said, smiling a little. "Just for a short time I borrowed it."
"Well, how long have you had it?"
"Perhaps only about 80 years, the BFG said. "Soon I shall be putting it back."
"And that's how you taught yourself to write?" Sophie asked him.
"I is reading it hundreds of times, and I is still reading it, and teaching new words to myself, and how to write them. It's the most scrum-diddly-umptious story."
Sophie took the book out of his hand. "Nicholas Nickleby," she read aloud.
By Dahl's Chickens."
"By who?"